Hello everyone. Today there is another session for Java full stack development. Whatever I have told till date, all if you add all together, there will be more than basics. So today I will tell you about SOAP-based web services. When you talk about what is SOAP-based web services, basically you can go with top-down approach, bottom-up approach. No, top-down approach is contract fast, and bottom-up approach is contract last. Basically, you create a Java code, then you create XSD and WSDL, that is called your bottom-up approach or contract last. When you talk about top-down approach, that is first you create XSD, WSDL, and then you go and write your code. That is called contract fast approach. So here I have already shown you REST APIs or REST services, right? So when you talk about REST and SOAP, SOAP is a protocol, whereas REST is an architectural style, right? REST is an architectural style, the way to implement services. When you use SOAP, you transfer data from the client side to server side using XML or XML data transformation or data transfer. But when you go with REST, it supports both XML and JSON, right? It supports both XML and JSON. Now talking about SOAP, SOAP is a protocol, but REST is a architectural style. When you send a request using SOAP, SOAP web service in SOAP web service, this SOAP protocol will always embedded inside the HTTP protocol and go as a request. But when you talk about REST service, it is same only HTTP request. With your request information either in request line or request URL, or it is in the request body. The request goes with request URL or with request body. But in SOAP case, it is always with SOAP protocol embedded in a HTTP protocol. So let's go and see. Let's go and see. I've created an empty project. Before starting the session, let me share my screen. Let me share the screen. Just empty project. This is the empty project I created. This project I will use for creating your SOAP-based web service. And that I will create a service provider, and I will also create a consumer, the client code. Maybe today I will show you the service part. Client part will be in the next session, and after that I will end this Java full stack, development videos. If anyone wants or interested to learn something from me, you can always connect me. Anytime if I come with some ideas or something to upload, I will upload, but there will be no regular upload to the Java full stack development. Or anything you people or your student you learn us request me, then that only I will upload. Otherwise, I will stop uploading to Java full stack development playlist on my YouTube. So see, this is an empty project with a POM. I'm just opening the POM file. Okay. So let me. So what I will do now, I will add the dependency to the POM file. Before that, as you know, my Eclipse is always goes back to standard Java standard edition 1.8. I have to every time I have to remove this from the build path and add the latest stuff. Let me remove that and add the latest stuff. Even if I have configured the default as JDK23, it won't pick. There is some issue. So I have removed it. Alternate JRE JDK23, that is Java, and let me remove this 1.8. Yes, so now 23 is there. Apply and close. So this is done. So see, before coming to this session, I have already done a sample Spring Boot SOAP project. But it's been a long time I had worked on SOAP project. It's very long time. So this is the POM. You can always see the POM from my Git. Along with the videos, I always attach the Git link. And along with Git, I always attach the video link. So you can always get it from there. Either from the Git you will find the video link, or from the video you will find the Git link. So see here, dependency is basically Spring Framework Boot. This is one dependency, the Spring Starter Web Service, and WSDL 4G. This is the dependency you needed for this. Any internal dependencies, first level, second level, third level, all these dependencies will be pulled by Maven. So you should not worry about that. So let me format this. Yep. So the form is ready. Only this is the dependency you need. I already use Java version for compiling is Java 20. Let's go back to this project, and in this project, if you see, there is nothing, no classes, nothing. So what I will do, I'll create a fast endpoint class, and then I will create configuration class. Okay, let's go and do first a configuration class. I will create a configuration class, web service configuration class, and the package structure always will be the same. I'm taking com.example.satya. So let's go create a package first. Com.example. This is the package, right? So in this package, I will have, let's say, my main method, or a Spring Boot by default it generate app method, right? But I am taking it as a main method. So main method or main class, which will have the main method. Right? I will explain you about the form, right? See, now I will go with contract first. So I have a main method. I will have to have an endpoint class, and I will have to have a swap configuration class, or where I need to tell Spring I am going to use, this version of the WSDL, or this version of the SOAP protocol. So before that, let me go and show you the XSD, right, which I have already designed. I have taken from my same previous project. This XSD I'm explaining always, right? This is the XSD which we had in, or this is the which we had, which I have shown you during the creation of REST service, the full end-to-end integration of REST service, having a person object and address object in last few of my sessions. So same one I'm taking here. See this. In one of my video sessions, if you have looked into from the beginning till date, you might have identified, or somewhere I've explained about XSD, WSDL, RML. So here I'm going to create one XSD. I will tell you what this XSD is holding actually. See, this is called a person XSD. This XSD is basically going to hold the attributes or elements that will be used, or the data transfer object or value object that will be used in the application to create a person, to create an address, to create all the, or basically you can say data objects or value objects, right? So see, person, when I talk about a person, it is an entity, it is an individual. It won't represent any generic data type like, character, integer, long, string. So W3 doesn't has any data type called person. That is the reason you will have a complete complex type, right? A complex, if you see the W3 skills school, right? This is the schema which we are importing to this XSD is WSTTP, the XSC. Line number two. Line number one is the XML version. Line number two, access schema XML and XML namespace colon access equal to http colon slash slash www.w3.org/2001 slash XML schema. This is the namespace which you are trying to import from the W3, right? When you import this namespace in W3, you don't have any object or attribute called person. No, these are custom attributes or custom object, right? So person is a custom entity. It is represent an individual. So for this custom attributes or custom entity, we will always write complex tag. And again, we know this custom or complex objects will have always simple objects or simple data type, right? Or generic data type like string, integer, long, byte. So that's how it is going to hold. So here a person is there, right? Complex type, and then this is the structure you have to follow. You have to write a sequence, and after that you have to define all the element that person is holding, or the complex object is holding all the simple type you have to define. Here it is person ID. In person object will always have a person ID. String, first name, string, middle name, last name, age, integer, gender, string, address, right? Address have written, what? Address have written as address tag that is defined here below. And see here I have written max over unbounded. When you write max over unbounded, that means you don't know what is the length of this or how many times this address will exist inside the person. So it is a list. Let's say if you define main occurs one, that means it is not a list. A single address will be there. If you define main occur one, max occur something else like n, then what will happen, it might create a, if you auto generate the code, it will create an array of size that n. So when you write max occur unbounded, it will not create anything. It will basically create a list for you. So unbounded is always a infinite, it has not definite size, right? So this is just, I'm giving you an example. So always when if you want your one of the property or attribute to be a list or a collection, then always define max occurrence unbounded. Don't put any value there. Address. When I'm talking about address complex type, here also again you will have sequence and elements. So see, this is how you define a Excel, sorry, a XML or a XSD, XML schema definition. You define, and from this all your XML will get generated. The way you are defining this uh, entities here, that is how your XML will get generated. You will see it when we generate, request to send to the service through Sophia. You will see how it gets generated. Now, get person request and get person response. See, when I'm calling a method, if you remember in my old project, get person by ID. So this is a get person request which will cause a request parameter to the endpoint class, endpoint method or class as a payload request, and it will hold the person ID. Same will return as a person object, right? It will give us get person response, and person will be the entity. Similarly, while creating a person, we will send create person request. That's why it is the element. Create person request is element, and complex type, and again sequence. See, this is how you can define a complex type directly by this way, this approach. Whatever you are seeing in line number 9, by this approach you can directly define a complex type, or here in this way also you can define a complex type. The difference is in line number 35, you see I'm saying access element name get person request, and then I'm writing it is a complex type, then I'm saying sequence, then it is element person ID string. This is another way of defining a complex type. You can define in this way also. And if you see get person response also defined in that way, and it is referring to person. This is how it is defined, right? Similarly, create person request and create person response. So this is the XSD, and this XSD we will have it in our resource folder. The same XSD, I'm going to put it in resource folder. Okay. I put the same XSD inside the resource folder. Now I will tell you how to create a WSDL. Right? When you go for contract first, you will have a WSDL with you always, and then you will write the code. So see, this is the WSDL. See, what is the structure of WSDL? If you think, you have to understand first what is the structure of WSDL. What WSDL actually holds, right? So here I'll show you what actually, this is the way I've explained here, right? If you see XML is always root tag, and line number 2 access schema. This is the parent tag. Whatever XML entity or access whatever entities or general type or complex type or simple type, whatever you define, that will be inside the access schema. So similarly, if you go with the WSDL, WSDL will be in the beginning, line number 1, it will have the same XML tag and defining the version and encoding type. And in line number 2, it will have WSDL definitions. WSDL definitions. This is the definition of WSDL, right? And here it will end with WSDL definition. In between that, what you will have, see, you will have WSDL types. In that WSDL types, you have defined, you have to define your XSD. Inside that, I will show you. I will take this out and I will create one more here. So it will be easy for you to understand. Nowadays, anyway, people are not using, nowadays there is no, very rarely SpringBoot, not very rarely, but in many of the projects, people are going with REST approach, and this approach is not there. I will show you just the root or major tag which need to be there in this particular, in this particular WSDL for your contract first approach. I'm just removing so that it will be in one page to explain you. Everything should come in one page. Yeah, so a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. So if you think about a WSDL, this is how it looks. Initially, you will have WSDL definition, right? And inside that, you will have WSDL type. Inside, you can define your XSD schema. Basically, you can copy paste the content of the XSD and put it here, or you can always import your XSD. You can also import that XSD file here rather writing it again using the XSD importer. And then here WSDL message. In message, what it is actually saying, this is the get person request. This is a message, and this is basically your parameter, one of the parameter for the WSDL SOAP request, and it is of type per get person request. And from where this get person request will come, this will come from the XSD. The schema definition, whatever the schema definition will define here, it will come from that, right? And next, if you say line number 9, get person response. So whenever in REST API, you will have a request and response. Similarly, here also, you will have a request or response, right? And if you go back to if you go down, line number 23, WSDL port type, this is also required. These are the basic elements, these are the mandatory elements which you need in a WSDL if you are going with contract first approach, right? WSDL port type. WSDL port type is needed, and in port type you have to define a name and you have to define your operation. Operation is nothing but the function, or the method where we are going to call. So if it is get person biography, it will call get person biography, and then get person request and get person response. This is the payload request. This is the payload response, right? And then binding. In binding, you have to bind, to a SOAP version. So it is binding to SOAP version 1.1 and personal information service port type, right? So there are two style of SOAP binding. When you bind a SOAP, there are two type of styles. One is RPC and this one, the other is document. RPC style was remote procedure call style, that was done in very old days, and later people started following the document style. So here we are following the document style. Then it comes to WSDL service name, person information service, person information port, binding, and this is this, and it will have an address. This is basically your port binding, the port which we need to hit for the request. This is your, kind of basic WSDL content or information I have given you. So WSDL looks like this, and WSDL can be auto-generated if you have XSD, and WSDL can also be auto-generated even if you don't have XSD. It will generate the XSD as well as WSDL based on your Java code. And if you have XSD or WSDL, you can always generate Java code from the XSD. Contract fast is always you will have XSD and WSDL. So this is how your WSDL is, and I will show you the WSDL which I have created. That same WSDL I shown you, that is the WSDL which I created and tested. I will put that WSDL here in the resource folder. Right. So now we have the WSDL, we have the person XSD. Right. So let me open this XSD and WSDL for yourself, for your knowledge, and show you it in Eclipse again. The same what I explained, I put it here.
Click from Satya.
See, this is the same XSD which I have just explained you, and the same WSDL which I explained you. I just removed their contents there. So here, XS schema you can always import. There will be import command which you can always import your XSD to the WSDL. So either you can import or you can put the content directly here. Both of them will work. So this is the WSDL, right? I will show you both the approach, how to auto generate the WSDL and how to go with the static WSDL. Now let's go back to this project. Right? So see, in POM file, in during when I was working with sub projects, I have developed many sub projects. So when I was developing the sub project, I always has there is a command in Java we used to give XSC. Using XSC command, we used to generate Java classes from the XSD. You know. So here also in Maven, you can add a plugin which will use XSC command. If you see in line number 110, it is XSC command, and it is JAXB Maven plugin. JAXB is the marshaller class, which marshal and non-marshal, which is basically object to XML or XML to object, right? So this is using XSC command, and in this command I'm saying this is my XSD. Take this and generate the Java code for me to be used in this particular project. So see, currently I don't have anything here, right? I don't have any Java code here except, sorry, where is the project? Yeah, it already got generated. I'm just going to remove. When I ran this project, correct, to test this, and it got generated. So let me remove this thing. This is the project that we're looking into. SpringBoot shop. Where is the project? Yes, this is. So let me remove all this. This will get auto generated. Right. So let me clean this XP folder also, meta folder. Now you have seen this person XSD is there. See this project, Spring Boot project. I have only main class. I don't have anything else here. I just refreshed. I don't have anything else here. I have XSD and this person WSD. I'll just create this application properties also. This application properties to the resource folder, right? And see what I have in application properties. Debug true and server.port 24081. I'm given, to change the port number of Tomcat. That is only I have in Power application properties. Now I'll go and do a Maven compile. Only compile. No install. I'll just go and do Maven build. Here I'll tell clean and compile to generate the classes. So it is running the XSC command if you see. and it will generate the classes and put it in the folder. Please. So let's refresh it. See, you got your address class, you got your person class, you got get person request, get person response, get person request, get person response, object factory, package info, person. All these classes are used by Jaxby. I'll show you what is just I will show you one class. See what is this object factory class. Object factory class, as I explained in one of the design pattern factory class, right? This will create all the object needed by the Jaxby master and it will return back. So if it want a create person request object, it will return a create get person object. If you want a get person response, it will create a get response and give you back, right? So if you want create person object, it will create a person object and return back, right? So this is going to create address object, person object, person response, create person response, get person response, create person request, get person request object and return you back. That's how. So if you go to package info.java, this is telling clearly how what is the namespace and how to bind. You know what is the namespace and how to bind. Next, if you go to the person class, see the person class which add, written, and shown you, that is a simple person class, right? This is also same person class only, but it is created by Jaxby, right? And if it is holding all the XML tags and elements the way it should be. See here XML accessor type, XML accessor type dot field, XML type, name, person, period, or person ID, first name, middle name, last name, age, sender address. Then created the class person. XML element required true, required true, required true, required true, required true. Everything is required true, right? That means you cannot leave them blank, right? So in our case, if you see this middle name may not be required, right? It should be false. So how to do that? I will show you one change here. You go to middle name here, right? Here you write min occurs equal to 0, right? Min occurs equal to 0. Now go and build, again from the form. Earlier, that time when I started working with this, before Maven, so we used to do it in command prompt, generate the classes and do it, add it to the package. Initial days, very initial days when I started my career. After that, we automated with build script. So if I refresh this package, and let's go to see person. See, XML element required true for person ID, right? And for first name, required true. For middle name, there is nothing. It is required true or false, there is nothing. For last name, required true, right? And age, it is an integer type. And then the gender string, required true. Address, required true. But for middle name, it removed, right? It was there just some time back you have seen, now it is removed. So let's close this. This is how Jaxby XSC command generate the code, and this is how Jaxby generate the code for web services, or for marshalling and unmarshalling objects. So work same, right? So our let's go back to our classes, right? Now we have to write a config class. So I'm going to create a config package to write a config class. I'll web service config, right? So what I can do, I will write here folder package form dot example dot satya dot service dot config. Basically, the sub configuration. We are going to do it here. So already I have it here. I'll just get it from there. It will be easier. and then I'll write it. Same class name, I'll keep it. No, it is easy. See, I'm showing you this because it will be faster for us to, faster for me to finish this session. Otherwise, it will take long time. And I might be recording for recording for you all learners. I'm the only one person, one to one. No one is there, you know. So I'm the only person talking to myself for making you better understanding how short projects are. But if you really want to have one-to-one session with me, you can always connect me. Always you can message me. See here, enable WS, right? This is what you have to write. Enable web service. So it will enable the web service configuration, and at the rate configuration you have to write it here. See, WS configuration adapter. This is the class which you need to extend. This is the class which you need to extend. I'll show you this class of thing. See what this class is doing. It is implementing WS configuration. It is having interceptor method, augment method, and return value handlers. Right? And if you go to this WS configure, it is also having the same method. Just we need to extend that class so that Spring Boot will take the advantage of these interface classes and will inject the requirement of codes during the runtime. So let me comment out this. This I will tell you later. First we'll go with SOAP 1.1. So let me comment out this message factory. This is not required. Yeah. So see, whenever we go for a web service, right? Whenever we go for a web service, we have to always register it as a servlet. So register as a servlet. In case of uh, not in case of normal web service implementation, we have to always have a web.xml, and in web.xml always you will always will define message display as a servlet, and will register it with a URL, with a application context URL, right? So that thing we have to do it here. So that is why you at the rate bean is there, servlet registration and message display the servlet. We are registering it, the servlet registration bean with a servlet context slash services slash this. So whatever request I give, whatever WSDL, if I want to read the WSDL or any request I send, services will be the part of the request. This URL will be the part of the request. So it will be like HTTP localhost. I'll show you I will get the URL here. 1 second, I hold. That will better make you understand. That is called servlet context. Nowadays, because of REST services or Spring Boot, you are running it in embedded Tomcat, and there is no servlet, implemented, so you don't need this. So if you see this URL in line number 30, it is using services, right? And then person service WSDL slash WSDL. Because of this services, it will is using services. So this is called servlet context. You give the servlet context and then the value of it. So now coming back to this bean definition here. See, now first I will show you how to auto-generate a WSDL if you have your own, if you have your own XSD without taking an headache of binding it, writing operations and messages. You don't need to write, you just need one XSD. So for that, you can go and implement this method default WSDL one definition, and it will take the parameter as XSD schema, and that XSD schema is basically your, in this case, persons.xsd, right? And what you have to do inside that, default, you create an object of the default WSDL11 definition. Set the port type. Here I'm setting the port type information port. Set location URI. This is the location URI I'm giving here. Then set the target namespace. Target namespace is this thing that whatever the XSD is having, right? and set the person schema, the XSD schema. I'll comment this line number 53. This I will show you once this successfully run and I send some value to the service and get response back from the service. Then I will show you stop one to binding, not now. This is what you needed. And then coming back to person schema. Now for person schema, you need to have another bean, that is person schema. It will return your SSD schema, right? Here you have to do new basically you create an object of XML, sorry, simple XSD schema with class path resource persons.xsd. If you create this and return this, it will give you a simple XSD schema. And this is the configuration, basic configuration you need to do for your for your web service, right? Remember, you need to write this method message dispatcher servlet, and here you need to create a servlet instance for message dispatcher servlet, set the application context, and set transform WSDL location true. Right? You have to write this. This is the basic information you have to put it here. Now your configuration class is done. Now we'll write the endpoint class. So endpoint class I will now write. Now write the endpoint class. Where is that one? Yeah. So in WS, let's make it not config. Let's make it web service package. So what we will do, we'll have both of them in that same class. Endpoint class also will have there. So we will create a endpoint class. Personal information. I'm going to create an endpoint class here, that is personal information endpoint. Right? So here, here we have to define some annotations. Endpoint annotation here, right? When I was working, that I all are configuration based. We used to configure using String XML and web.xml. For me, writing this web software web service, with using annotation is I think maybe first or second time. Maybe yeah. Once I have not written, but I in my project I helped one of my researchers to write one project using annotation, one web service using annotation by explaining how it works. So I'm copying this method, right? So writing will take more time, so I'll copy and modify this method. Right? See, see, here the annotations are payload route and payload and response payload. This is what you have to write here. When you say about payload route, in payload route you have to define the namespace. Namespace is very important. That namespace should match with the namespace you have in your XSD or you have defined here in web service config, right? In this is the namespace we have defined, right? Here form.example.satya.vo, the target namespace, and this namespace should match it here. This namespace should match it. This namespace should match it here in payload route, and local part is basically the request object. The request object which you are sending through SOAP UI is the local part. And coming back to response is response payload. Get response and just write response payload. It will take care of get response. Here what I'm doing, get person by biography. If you want to integrate the way I integrated this service layer with REST service, the same way you can integrate the service layer with the SOAP UI based service, right? Here, what happens? You get person request, give you person ID, and then you take that person ID, go back to the database, and return back the object or return back the object or the response. So here what I'm going to do, here I'm just going to, here I'm going to set the name, you know, here I'm going to set the name, let's say my name, I'll just set my name, my full name, so that in response also we'll be able to see, okay, we got it from the backend, right? Right. So I've set my name here. Here I'll give a proper message, you know, fetching record for this. And similarly, I've created a get, this is get person and this is not get person. This will be your create person, the create person. And you see, I will tell you how the web service actually identify the methods. It won't identify by the name, whatever you have given here. It always identify the operation based on the local part and the namespace. So always you should have unique local part and unique local part for every namespace throughout the class. If you have many, if you have many operations in this particular endpoint, you should have all operations should have different local part. And local part is basically the request parameter which is going to come. And you see here, you see this is the local part, right? It is showing here complex type, complex content. All this it is fetching from where? It is fetching from the Jaxby object which we have generated. From that it is fetching. So this local path we should always define, and our request which is coming from the client, it will always identify the operation based on the local path and the namespace you have. So here also it is saying person created and returning us back one person ID. Create method always returns a person ID, and get person biography, it always returns the person's detailed information. No, I just added one this. I'll just add an address also for your reference. I'll add just address ID. Just I will add. I'll add something ID. So this is how your address ID I have added, and I have to set it to the person. Otherwise, it won't. No, set. See, here another interesting part is we cannot set like this. See, there is no address. If I go to person object, the person object which got generated, you will not find set address. Control O, this set person is there, right? No, this is the different class. We need to come a different class. We'll go to person class. Yeah. So here you see this is address, right? Control O, set gender, age, last name, middle name, first name, personality, but not. So how we're going to do it here? You're going to do get address, and from there you get the list, and then you do it. See here, this is how it's generated. That is the reason I want to set the address to show you how it works. Person list dot address get address. First you do get address, it will give you address object. Use that address object and set the address. I'll show you how to do that here. Get address, right? So it is giving you a list. Done set. What you do here? Let's get this in this way. right? So you get the address here, person.get address list, and then you set it here. Right? And in this address list, set, but not it is set in this address list to do add address. You can do directly for more readability to make you understand. I've put it in this way. So see here, address dot set address this thing, list address, address list, person dot get address, and then with that address list you add the address to the list. Here directly you can do dot. You can add directly by doing dot add address. So see here directly you can do this way also. And when you do that way, you don't need this assignment. You don't need this assignment. This assignment is not required. No, this is how. So this is how it works, right? Here, a person got created, and I want to show you here something. Whatever we are setting, we are sending it here. So you see, this person object is not having any toString. So what I will do, I will just put some values here and show you. Print some values. So here person got created. So get this create person request, and from there, from this create person request, what we'll get, we will dot get person dot get person ID, right? And one more will print, that is address. I just did a format to the Eclipse so that what will happen, these settings, editor settings, editor format will be proper. So here we will just get the address ID. Get address dot get index 0 dot address. Right? So this is how here. So I have shown you both the payload route and endpoint I created here. Now let me go and deploy this. Right? This is how you have to do this. Much easier required. You need to create a configuration class where you can configuration the WSDL definition, and you need to have your endpoint class. Basically, the operations you define. Right? So this is how it is. Now we can go and run this. By writing a main method here and make it as a Spring Boot application. Boot application, right? And here right, Spring application run main. Right? This is how you do, right, for Spring Boot application. This much is the configuration we need to do. Now let's run this. See, it's successfully started, right? It's successfully started, and let's go and read that particular URL. And before hitting that URL, I will tell you how to identify what is the URL. I just told you about the configuration class, web service configuration class. In web service configuration class, if you see at the bin, the default WSDL 1.1 definition, I have given person service WSDL here. So this will be the URL part, person service WSDL dot WSDL. So this value you have to put in the URL. If you see here you see in line number 30, localhost 2480 services person WSDL dot WSDL, right? So let me copy this guy and hit this. See, it got generated successfully. Right? Here I have not uploaded I have not uploaded any WSDL. I just uploaded with XSD schema. So if you see here it is telling operation name is create person. Right? I will take it to the I will copy this to the Notepad++ for your better visibility. No, the content here I am deleting it. So nothing is there. I deleted. I'm trying to put it here. See, here it is the create person, the operation. And inside it get person request, get person response. And here it is get person request, get person response. This is how you are able to see the name which I have in the method. It is not coming because it is auto generated, and it generate the operation name based on the request parameter. So here get person request is there, so it took get person as the operation name. Here create person request is there, so it took create person as the operation name. And if you see the sub binding, here it is done, right? 111, this also binding. So the only thing which we have defined or I have defined in the XSD is this from line number 6, from line number 4 that access schema till uh, line number here it is 57. This is what I have defined. Other than that, all other things are added by the code, added by the Spring, right? See, whatever I have defined, that is only the static persons and all other stuff. But the messages, these messages, WSDL messages, I have not written. WSDL type, I have not written. WSDL definition, I have written. What it did while generating the WSDL definition, it injected, schema inside WSDL types, and all other it auto generated for us. So this is how it works, right? Now let's go and this is how it is, right? Now let's go ahead and run it, right? I'll show you how to generate SOAP request for it also. Copy this URL, start your SOAP UI, right? Start your SOAP UI. Go to file, new SOAP project, put it here, right? And I will give this just already the same name is there. I'll give you something WSDL dynamic one, right? Or WSDL auto generated, right? Create a sample request for all requests. Always select on sample request. So what will happen now when it is generated, it will generate a request for you. So you need not to write your own. See, it generated a sample request for you. So first I'll go for get person. See here, I'll give some person ID. Right? Let's say I'm just having something randomly. And now I send this. I got a response. Let me copy this response. It is window is very uh, small. So let me copy this response to this Notepad++. In the same place, I will release this WSDL and put it here. See, if you see this response, this is I am setting inside the class, and this is what I have sent. Let me copy from that SOAP UI this ID. This ID, no, this ID. Let me copy it from. See, this is what I have sent, and this is what I'm sending back, right? The person ID and address ID. If you see, let's go to the Eclipse and see if that ID is there. See that ID 823990, that is the ID which I'm sending. It came to the fetching record for ID, right? And then it gave us the response back. And if you see, I have said what I have said. I have said in that particular get person biography. I have said, address ID, first name, last name. I have said it, right? So let's go and see that in Notepad++. See, first name, I will just make it a better version for your visuality. Sorry, make it a better version. See, SOP header, nothing we have in SOP header. All the response will come in this SOP body, SOP envelope body. So this response is inside SOP envelope body. See, the first is person, right? Or we can take it and format it online, no? Using XML. It's a small one, so let me do it here. Won't take us time. You can always use online tool to format it. See, starting tag is SOP envelope, right? Then header. We don't have anything in header. No, header in a SOP header always most of the time we used to attach the authentication information, but here nothing is there since because I'm not integrating any authentication information. I don't want to authenticate this request. Whenever you want to authenticate the request is coming from the right source or not, you always they will add authentication information in the header. That might be your public private key or might be a token. Depends on what kind of security features you're adding to your application. And envelope body, then in envelope body you will have get person. Your get person is there, right? And in get person we have person. That XML XSD. See here, get person response you have person, right? And in person you have all this. So here get person response, you have person, and inside person you have everything, and then in address you have address ID. Only have set address ID, that's what is showing address ID. If I would have set others, you would have shown the other values also here. See, person ID is whatever random value I have set in the Java code that is coming here, person name, my name, right? And then address ID. This is how your softest request and response works. How easy it is. Right? In old days, when we used to write, when I started very beginning, when Spring without Spring, right? Apache Axis or maybe Jax WS Web Services, they have little bit complex but not that difficult. And then Spring came into picture. It made little bit configurable everything, and then it made more simpler, to write a web service. Now we see how fast Spring using Spring Boot, how fast we can write a web service. Now I will show you the show version 2 using the default one, right? Using the default one. Let's go to the without any WSDL definition. We'll go with same XSD. So you have to enable this, bin tag, of message factory. Basically, we're going to define the message factory version, what version we're going to use for the message factory. SOAP message factory jar. If you think SAH is a jar, that is used for SOAP message factory. One of the messages we're transferring from request to response. The messages we're constructing that has a version 1.1 and 1.2. So this is here what to do. You have to create a message factory and you have to write at the rate SAS of message factory. Earlier we used to configure in the context XML. Now we are writing it here annotation. So use subversion dot sub12 message factory dot set subversion dot sub12 and message factory. Then return it. And for that, to make it work, we have to enable this also. WSDL 1.1 definition dot set create sub 1.2 binding true. You have to make it true. And if you want to stop 1.1 binding, you can make it false. Or if you don't make it false, 1.1 binding also will be true. So now I will stop the server, and before stopping, I will show you the message factory here in the Tomcat. My few of my when I was bachelor, when I was staying in 1-2 BHK with other my friends, there was one of my junior who was doing GNET course after BSc and then joined one of the startup. He used to sit with me and learn these web services. These are old days stories. he has a he has learned some subnet concept, all this concept from GNET, but no knowledge about web services and other stuff. He wants to implement in his project. He He used to sit with me. I used to training. And weekends, some weekends he will sit with me and asking me. So, these all are very old technologies, old way of designing. Here we will see somewhere. See default definition inside default definition initialization. Okay, I don't see it here. But when we are setting default definition, right? Set one sub version 1.2, it will show you 1.2, and you can see, you can feel the difference when I show you in SOAP UI what it will do. By that you will be able to see the difference. How it works. The difference you will see in SOAP UI. While creating the request, it will show you the difference. Coming down, coming down, coming down. Let's see somewhere if it is there. No, it's not there. It's not showing, but okay, it should show. Fine. Anyway, I'll stop this Tomcat. Now we have enabled this thing. Now I'll start the Tomcat again. So version 1 2 I have already enabled. So let me start this Tomcat again. Now if you have seen this, if you have seen this here, this sub binding, right? Coming down, if you have seen this, the sub binding is 1 1. There it will be sub binding will be 1 2. Tomcat started. Now let me take this URL again and hit in the browser, right? This tab will be there. Let me hit in the other tab, show you the difference. This is how WSDL is getting generated. And if you see here, we will have SOAP version 1.2, right? Here, if you see, we only had SOAP version 1.1. I'm just scrolling slowly towards up. See, there is no SOAP version 1, 2, only subversion 1. Right now, I made subversion enabled for true. Set subversion. I enabled in this code while in web service configuration. WSDL definition configuration. Here I have enabled it saying that set create swap 1 to binding. Initially by default it is false. If you set it true, it will be created. But for 1 1 by default it is enabled. Now, if I show you uh, in this request, whatever I have hit to this, you see here you have SOAP personal information support SOAP 1 2 and binding SOAP 1 2, right? Here binding for 1 2 SOAP version 1 2 and binding for SOAP version 1 1, because I have not made SOAP version 1 and false. If I make SOAP version 1 and false, it will not show. I'll show you that by making false also, but see, that's how it is works, right? It created binding for both 1 2 and binding for SOAP version 1. Now if you take this URL, and create, go to Satya, write file, again file, new Satya project, and create it here, paste it here, and auto. So, let's see, right? Click on open. See what it did. This is the Autosop 1 2 project I created, right? See, it created request parameters for me, a request method for me, and 1 2 request for method for me. I'll go for 1 2, and 1 2 I will open this create person now, because that's time I have shown you the uh, get person. So I click on create person. I will copy to remove the, in this request you have to remove the question mark. Question mark will be, it will throw you error. I use Notepad plus plus to replace all the question mark with empty. Now I'm taking this envelope, top envelope. I will put before that ID. Yeah, let's some random ID. I'm trying to put it here in the person ID and here, because these two are we are trying to print it out, right? So I'll copy it, put it in SOAP UI again. I'll send the request. You got some response, right? So let me copy this response. Then we'll go to the Eclipse to see. The response. This is the header, right? HTTP header. In top one, you are seeing HTTP 1, 201. So HTTP is always embedded. SOAP protocol is always embedded with the HTTP protocol, right? That's what I said previously. So you see envelope header, then envelope body. So header is nothing. Body response, create person response, and here we have only person ID, right? Create person response is always having only person ID. So this is the body, right? You see only person ID I got back, and this person ID I have set in Java code. Right, whatever I'm sending, I'm not getting it back. I will show you. Let's go to the Eclipse. See, this is the ID, address ID and person ID, right? Let me take it back. Here, put it here. We got it in the Eclipse console. See, the ID is same, right? ID is same. Here you see this ID, address ID is same, right? Now, I'll show the what ID I got back from the no, through the response. See, here in create person, you see in the create person, right? In create person, this is the ID I'm setting, right? This ID came back 39839 right? 839399 last. You see this response 83939, right? 84HFQR, right? So this is how you know both you are enabling both the version of SOAP. You can expose both the version of SOAP request to your client who is trying to consume your service, right? This is how you can do. See, the first request which I created was for the 1 1, right? I will send that 1 1 request now here. See here, person's request. Let me take this guy. There is a slight difference, there is a very slight difference in the request and the response with SOAP 1 2 protocol. Here I'll give the person ID something random value. Here I'll give the address ID something random value and copy it and go to the SOAP back. Okay, this is the request which I'm going to send for SOAP 1 1, So now send it. It is showing something wrong here. Let me go with this 1 1 request. Maybe something. Okay, it's showing some error, you need to maybe some configuration I have missed or something. I will, when I post the code to the Git, I will put the comment how to enable and disable both or how to keep both of them together working, right? Something might be some silly issue. We'll see what is their issue, what issue is there here in the console. Some configuration issues might be there. You see, saying error dispatch status exiting from this application JSON. Okay, it is trying to identify application JSON, some simple issue or some simple error, right? So we will see it. I will see it. Let's do something here. I'll stop it. Web service configuration here. Let's copy this guy. Maybe not binding. True. It is showing in WSDL. That means it is already true. Not required to do it. And we have to set two message factory. So this is when we are using context XML, that time the bins are in the XML. So configuration we used to do, it is visible to us in at the red bin. Something might be missing. So let's not worry about that now. I will push the code with both the version. Now I will show you how a static WSDL can be made it work. Right? I will copy it. I'll comment out this 112 version. Here, now see, when you are going with static WSDL, you don't need this schema. You don't need any more this person schema because you are not going to inject it, right? This person schema is no more needed, anywhere. Now you need to define simple WSDL one definition, a method, and in that you need to have create a simple WSDL definition and class path resource. You have to load your WSDL to that definition. This is much what we have to do. Now after that, no more changes. Here this WSDL what you have or what I have here now, that is going to come into the WSDL. If you see this WSDL, what is there in this WSDL? In this WSDL, if you go to the operation, you will see the operation are like, what is that? Get person biography and create person, right? So let's see if it is coming in that way. So now let's go and run it. Yes. So it came, right? It's running now. Let's go and get the first hit this thing. See, the URL will be same. The reason behind the URL will be same because servlet registration is always service and the URL will be same. So you come down, you see here get person biography. It is now showing get person biography, not get person. You see here, earlier it was create person and operation is get person. You see this operation, it is get person, right? That's why I kept this XML, WHL without deleting it. See, it is the operation name is get person, right? And the other operation name is get person. But if you come here, the operation name is get person biographic and create person. The way I have mentioned it is showing the same way. Now this WSL is ready, right? So now you can go to the SOAP UI, and since it is a SOAP 1.1 version, so here I have put this ID and this ID. So now I will send the request here. See, it gave us the response with the static WSDL, and in this, see, this is the ID, right? This is the ID I have put in that request, right? Let me get that request also because I have changed it, right? Yeah. So we see 84484 HR, this is coming, right? This is what I had set while creating a person, right? This is the ID I have set while creating a person. So this ID is coming, and if you see this is the request I have sent. Let me take this ID 42114353 is visible in the console or not. See, 4. Let me copy this guy. Now, what is your task? Whoever is watching this video, I already have this project right here with REST API, REST API integrated with the service layer. You take the service layer, and integrate it. You take that service layer and integrate it with this SOAP-based web services. You will be able to do it. You will be able to get the value from the MySQL database, and you will be able to deliver it. If while maybe showing the client application, I will show you that how it is fetching data from the backend also. Now, if you see these values are coming, right? These values are coming, and uh, here I will put it here. See, this is the value with the same request I have sent from software, right? And again, if you want this, simple WSDL or directly from WSDL, if you want to have a SOAP 1.2 version, it is not that straightforward. You need so much of configuration to make it version SOAP version 1.2. But for default WSDL definition, or if you are generating WSDL from the XSD, your approach is the approach is easier, and you can always do it by setting the message factory the way I have done it here now. By setting the message factory, you can always, by setting the message factory, and you can always make it work. But for simple WSDL definition, it is not that straightforward. When we are doing with a context XML, we used to define the source version. We used to define, the WSDL type in the context XML, and it generate that particular message factory source version for us. But here in annotation, this is using simple WSDL definition. It's not this straightforward way. You have to do a configuration, and then it will work. So now you have seen, right? Now you have seen this, how it works. What I will do now, I will just show you once outside Eclipse how it works, right? So I will just enable only, no, let's do this thing. Let's make both of them true. Still, then it will not work, right? So I will just only enable show version 1, and I'll show you how it works with the from the command line. Right? I'll show it from the command line. Now let's go and do a build, form build. I'm looking for a job, engineering leadership role, basically, engineering manager, senior engineering manager job. My last job was senior engineering manager, so I'm looking similar kind of job. Um, Until unless I find, I'll keep uploading something. Yeah, this is the project run, or this is not the project. Spring Boot shop, right? See, we have target folder. Let's go to the target folder. Here you will have a live folder, Jaxby. Nothing is there, so let me go and see this Java project. Java project, right? Spring Boot show target folder. Here it should generate the classes and package for us. Let's see in the form what we have. Yeah, I have, manifesto file, jar, everything, puppet dependencies. So let's do the building. Oh, I think I have just did a build for the compile. Anyway, we'll do the build from the command prompt. I did the default build of compile initial, the beginning build what I was doing, right? That's simple. Web and clean stuff. That's why only classes are generated and Jaxby files. Oh, I'm inside the target folder. Sometimes it happens. Some Web clean is installed. Okay. So this is how you have here. Let me go and see the target folder, right? See, now we have everything here, right? Now let me go and run it from the command folder. cd target java jar, then yes. It's been a long time when I was teaching one person Apache Axis, AWS Web Service, and Spring initial days Web Service. I just give it some time back. I said, right? GNEAT person, and GNEAT matlab GNIIT. And IIT was a institute at the time who used to give 1 year course, 2 year course for the BSc students, and then they used to deploy them into software companies. See, I will hit the URL. Yes, it is coming up, right? It is coming up. SOAP 11 is this. Now see, it is coming get person, no biography, right? No get person biography. So this is what auto-generated one, right? Let's go to the SOAP UI. Now let's see that same request again, right? Let's see that same request. I got the response. Definitely the same response because static code, right? Hard coded the code to the code we are hard coded. We'll get the same response here. See, same response. And let's go to the console. See, console also same response, right? So this is how you create SOAP-based web services. I will end this session today here. If you want to learn something more on the SOAP-based web service or something more on any kind of REST API or cloud, you can always connect me. We will have a session, like maybe one-to-many, one-to-one session. If you or your friends or a group of people are interested to learn something from me, you can always connect me. I will always help you out. And this session, what I am doing, what I've taken here, it is only for YouTube, and I'm recording this session. No one is there in this session. No, I'm not teaching anyone. When I was working in the software industry, that time my juniors, my colleagues or my friends, they used to come to me to learn the technology, how or any new technology is coming, and they need it in their project. They used to come and ask me how to do this, how to do that. But anyway, now I don't have job, so I'm looking for a job. Once I find a job, maybe I will, you know, not that often I will upload videos, but I'll keep uploading something. If you really want to connect me, you can always message me on my LinkedIn, or you can always mail me on my mail ID. You can always put comment on the comment section for this video, and I will definitely reply back, and we can have a session and you can learn from me, or we can share our knowledge. You can share your knowledge to me. What if I can share my knowledge on that particular artifact or technology you want to learn. Right? So let's stop the session here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, the learners who are watching my videos on YouTube.